Alrighty, welcome back everyone. Scarland here bringing you a new Neverwinter video, and today we're going to be jumping into the newest class being introduced into Neverwinter. As the title of the video suggests, we are going to be looking at the Bard, specifically the DPS Paragon. Now this is going to be a long video. This isn't going to be a guide. This is literally just going to be me showing you all the abilities. We're going to read through the DPS Paragon, and that's going to be it. This isn't going to be a guide or any of that, so this is just a first look at the DPS spec for the newest class. Now, this is the preview. We have no official launch date for the class. It is coming in Mod 21, however, we don't have a release date for Mod 21, so again, it is preview. This class is probably going to change between now and when it gets released. There are most definitely some broken mechanics on it, so they're going to need addressed. I mean, you could basically spam encounter abilities over and over again with literally no cooldowns. So yeah, you're talking about a good bit of DPS on a maxed out endgame character. So this is going to be a long video. Buckle down. We're literally just going to read off the abilities. I'm going to show you what we got. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and get started here. We're just going to go through every tab and look at every ability. You guys can form your general opinions on it. Again, this isn't going to be an in-depth guide on the class. This is just highlighting what the class is going to be bringing to the table. So the Bard DPS spec is the Songblade. Now keep note that even though this is the DPS spec, you're going to notice that you are still going to be bringing a lot of support to the table. So this is not a pure DPS class in the slightest. A lot of the abilities, the dailies and whatnot, you're actually going to still be supporting your team, even if you are playing the DPS Paragon. So let's go ahead and look at the at-wills here. We have, oh, by the way, the Bard, the names of all of these, yeah, good luck. I can't pronounce half of them, so it is what it is. We have Reprise. Delivers a fourfold attack to enemies in a cone before you, dealing physical damage each hit. Has a 35 magnitude. We have Fletch. It deals psychic damage to target enemies, so it's a single target, and it has a magnitude of 180. We have Fuko. Deal fire damage to nearby enemies. This is an AoE. It's 130 magnitude. Changes to Moto when under the effect of tailwind Mambo, dealing projectile damage in a line before you. This changes to Brio when under the effect of Still March, dealing physical damage to a cone before you. So let's briefly, I want to show you what this all means, right? So this at will has 3 different effects depending on what you're using. Now, Tailwind Mambo and Still March are 2 of the songs, which we will get into. So if we just briefly look at the base, this is the base. This is an at-will, and the enemies have to be pretty close for you for this to hit. So the second part of this is when under the effect of Tailwind Mambo, you deal projectile damage in a line. So you have to be under the effect of Tailwind Mambo. So purposes of the video, we'll just swap this in real quick. So we're going to quick cast it. And then if we do this, now you can see how this changes. It actually changes to a tornado. And now they are going in front of you. So now let's go ahead and look at the third one, and you're going to be using Still March. So when we activate our Still March now, and now cast this at will, now you can see that it does a sword attack and an arc around you. Again, it has to be close. So this is very interesting that you can have essentially 3 different at-wills built into one based upon whatever song that you're currently going to be playing. And then finally, we have Tesateo. Dude, I can't pronounce half these names, guys. You'll have to bear with me. I have no musical talent or musical knowledge whatsoever. Delivers a multi-hit attack to a target enemy, dealing physical damage on each hit. This is most likely going to go as the single target go-to, and you simply just go ahead and spam your at-wills. So that is the at-wills for the class. Let's go ahead and move along. Alright guys, and let's go ahead and jump into the encounter powers now. So we have Duet. It delivers a twofold attack to nearby enemies, dealing arcane damage each hit, a magnitude of 230. It also has a daze effect that lasts 2 seconds. We have Lunge. Lunge at target enemy, dealing physical damage, 400 magnitude, also has a stun. We have Dancing Lights, which is deal psychic damage to target enemy, 700 magnitude, has a 3-second daze, and decreases target's damage dealt by 5%. So this does have a debuff mechanic to it. We have Flourish. Increase the damage dealt or healing potency of your next encounter power or song by 50%, and you have a 9-second duration. We have Ad Libitum. Deal physical damage to target enemy, 400 magnitude, 50% chance to allow you to use this ability again immediately. This effect may not trigger more than 3 times. So you can actually proc this 3 times in a row. Now we have Ado. Raise your blade, absorbing 50% of the damage from front of your character up to 40% of a total of your max HP. Damage while taking using Contre depletes your stamina. Stamina does not regenerate while using Contre. The added effect is you're immune to most control effects. Upon releasing Contre, you will activate one of the following effects. So if you just click it once, you do 200 magnitude AoE damage. If you hold it down for 1 second, you'll do 600 magnitude single target damage, and if you hold it down and channel it the whole way for 3 seconds, you do 700 magnitude damage over 3 hits AoE. So this is a very interesting one, so let's just take a look at this one momentarily. So if we just hit it once, if we just tap the button, it's going to do that 200 magnitude damage, alright? So this is a channel ability, so it does have pros and cons to this ability. If you're in a dungeon and you have things trying to stun you and you have red underneath you, you need to dodge out of the red, you will get knocked out of this if you try to channel it. So if you channel it now for just 1 second, now you do that magnitude single target damage. What is it? I'm sorry. 600 magnitude single target damage. And then we'll do it one more time, and if we charge it the whole way, it does 700 magnitude AoE, which really looks good on paper. However, I haven't really been using it. I've just been single tapping it, to be honest. So you can channel it. Again, it takes up to 3 seconds. Fully channeled, you release it, and then you go ahead and do this flurry of attacks. And then finally, we have Volti, which is rush forward, dealing physical damage to enemies in a path before you, and it does 200 magnitude damage. This ability may be executed twice more in rapid succession within 6 seconds. So you can actually cast this 3 times as well. Now, I'm not a big fan of this for AoE, maybe because I'm just a pleb and I'm not used to it, but it's directional. So whatever direction you're looking at is where you're going to be dashing. So there's your first dash. You can dash again, and then you can dash again. And it does do a good amount of damage. You know, you figure if you're casting it 3 times, that's 200 per, it's 600 magnitude AoE damage. Me personally, for the playstyle that I've been playing on the Bard, I just don't like it personally. However, it's something that you just might have to get used to, I guess. Because it will amount to some decent damage, I guess. Alright, so those are the encounter powers. Let's look on to the dailies now. So the first daily we have is Inspiration. Grants you and the nearest party member within 15 feet immunity to most control effects, reduces damage taken by 15%, and increases damage dealt by 15%. This lasts 12 seconds. It also has a heal over time with a heal magnitude of 200, and that also is a 12-second heal over time. So this is probably one of the best dailies on the DPS. You only have 3 dailies. This is, in my opinion, probably the most valuable for the DPS. But the downfall to this is that you're not buffing the whole team with this daily. It's literally just yourself and one other party member. Whatever party member is closest to you is going to get that 15% damage reduction and the 15% damage increase. Now we have Encore. Activate the last song you played without depleting your performance gauge. So this is decent as well, because you can basically cast the same song twice, and the second time you cast it, it's not going to use any of your performance gauge. Finally, we have Lure. Identify the target's weakness, increasing the critical severity of attacks by 10%. So this essentially increases your crit severity by 10%. It lasts 10 seconds. The added effect is grants you physical lore, magic lore, or projectile lore. Attacks which deal damage of the matching type deal 10% more damage. Now, this is only going to buff 10%, and this is only a self buff, I believe. This is just a self buff. It's not for the team or anything, and it's only 10%. But here's the kicker. It lasts 30 seconds. So you could use Inspiration for the 15% damage reduction and the 15% damage increase for 12 seconds, or you could take a 10% damage buff and it lasts 30 seconds. So both of these are really good in my opinion, and they're probably going to be a little situational when we get down to the build videos and actually going in depth in creating and theory crafting and stuff like that. We'll have to look at the backlog testing numbers of which one's going to be better. Most likely Lore will probably be better for being greedy. If you're going to be greedy DPS playing a Bard, because this doesn't buff anyone else, at least with Inspiration, you're going to buff one other teammate at least. Let's go ahead and look at the mechanics here very quickly. You have the quick step. So your iframe for the Bard is a little just fancy slide, I guess. We're cha-cha sliding, baby. We're cha-cha sliding around as a Bard, right? So that is your iframe. So perform is enter performance mode. This is your tab ability if you're on PC. So performance mode, allowing for the activation of songs via a sequence of notes. The required inputs may be viewed in the tooltip of each song. You must have at least 100 performance to begin, and the performance gauge fills gradually over time and is depleted when you play a song. So now we have the free perform, right? Long press to enter free perform mode and create songs. So this is actually just a nice little thing they added to the game, right? If you're just role playing, where's all my role players out there, right? You can actually just go ahead and tab out of combat, and you can literally just make music, guys. You can sit here and use the keys, play songs for your friends, try to make some harmonies. And it's just a silly little feature, right? It wouldn't be a Bard if you couldn't just sit here and play music at will, right? So, you know, it's a cool little feature that you can just sit here and literally play all the strings, try to make some music, and mimic some real-life songs. We have all of the world stage. Increase your performance gauge maximum by 50. Extends the duration of most songs to 72 seconds. So this is just part of the Paragon mechanic. Then we have the battle harmony. Songs which grant a damage bonus now grant an additional damage bonus to party members whose damage matches the type of song. And then the forte here, your Paragon path provides an increase to power, crit severity, and defect severity. So the forte for the Songblade Bard is power, crit severity, and deflect. Let's go ahead and look at the songs. So we have the Blaze. Deal fire damage to nearby enemies, 350 magnitude. The added effect is increase the magnitude of your attack actions by 20, and converts their damage type to fire. It lasts 72 seconds. The added effect is increases the damage dealt by nearby allies by 2%, an additional 2% for magical damage. So if you have casters in your group, let's say you're playing with a warlock or a wizard, you're going to want to use this to buff them not only by 2%, but an additional 2% for their magic abilities. So you'll actually be buffing them by 4%. So this coincides with the two other ones here, Tailwind Mambo and Still March. All three of these do the base same thing. They all do 300 magnitude damage. They all increase your damage by 20 and change your projectile or change your damage type to whatever it is. So Blaze turns it into magical damage fire. Tailwind Mambo changes it into a projectile. And Still March changes it into physical damage. And it's the same for, like I said, the added effect. So if you're playing with a Hunter Ranger or someone that uses projectile damage, then you're going to want to use Tailwind Mambo. If you're playing with a Barbarian or a Rogue who uses melee damage, you're going to want to use Still March to buff them by 4% total. So now we have Rejuvenating Carol. Apply a heal over time to self and all nearby allies. It's only a heal magnitude of 100, and it lasts 72 seconds. It cancels other songs that are currently in effect. We have the Ballad of the Witch. Grants the effect of the Ballad of the Witch, causing your attacks to deal additional arcane damage against all targets. So 40 magnitude additional damage, and it lasts 15 seconds. While under the effect of Ballad of the Witch, perform changes to Witch's Finale. Witch's Finale deals arcane damage to nearby enemies. So this is an AoE attack, and it's 400 magnitude. So then we have a single target counterpart. Ballad of the Hero is literally pretty much the same thing, except Ballad of the Hero deals radiant damage against the primary target. So Witch is AoE, essentially. Ballad is 100 magnitude single target, and then the single target counterpart for the Hero's Finale is 800 magnitude. So this is all the songs. Now very briefly, let's talk about how the songs work. So if you click on it, you have up to 4 slots that you can pin songs to, and then you have an automatic one. Okay? So for purposes of the video, let's say we pin this here in slot number 1. Let's say we put the healing one into the automation one, and let's say we put the AoE one in the second one. You have to manually play these, guys. If you didn't know, here we go. So you hit tab to enter into your perform mode. You're going to notice on the right hand of your screen there are numerical inputs. Those are the string inputs that you have to type in. So the first one we know is our Blaze buff, and the second one is our AoE. So if we type 686686, bada bing, that AoE goes off, and then you can enter back into combat. You can see at the very top here of your perform bar, that's the 72-second time for the buff that's going on. So now we have full perform again. We can enter again, and then if we cast that secondary AoE, which is 764542, did that not cast? Did I not cast that? Hello? Let's try again. 764542. Oh, I can't do that because the ballad is still actually running. Whoops. Let's go ahead and get that ballad off here, hopefully. Well, actually, so here, I'll just show you the quick slot. So you see, here is your quick slot, which your quick slot means you don't have to type in these numerical values. And there are pros and cons into putting things in your quick slot. So if we go ahead and just cast this, it'll cancel the initial one. So now we have the healing over time going on. If we enter combat, and then we go back into the song one, and then so it is 764542, and it still doesn't let us do it for some reason. The ballad should stop for some reason. I'm not sure why it's not stopping. Here, let's go with, will this one work here? 686686. There we go. And then if we finish it? No? Still not procking? Whatever. Purposes of the video, I just wanted to show you guys how the songs actually work, right? So, yeah, have to manually type them in, guys. Those are the songs. Let's look at the class features. So we have the soloist. Increased damage dealt by 10% whenever there are no party members. So when you're just out playing solo, you're probably going to just put this on. It's 10% damage increase. We have Songward. Whenever you're in performance mode, absorbs 50% of incoming damage up to 20% of your maximum HP. This pool of hit points gradually regenerates when not in performance mode. In addition, for 6 seconds after entering performance mode, you are granted immunity to most control effects. So this is like a safeguard, because when you enter performance mode, you're vulnerable. You can't really do anything other than quickly type in that input string of numbers. So when you're getting welled on by mobs and you're trying to type your song things in, you get a nice little cushion here. It's a nice little safe mode. We have mystifying strikes. Now this is one of the ones that I think is broke, to be honest. Your attacks now have a 5% chance to apply the effect Mystify to the target, dealing psychic damage over time. So it's a DOT, 50 magnitude, 12 seconds, right? It's only a 5%, but it procs fairly often. Now here's the kicker. Whenever another player strikes a target affected by your Mystify, the effect ends immediately, and the mystified target takes psychic damage, which is 400 magnitude. The player who triggered the effect is then healed for a 400 magnitude heal. So, I don't know if this has an internal cooldown. I haven't tested it yet. I really hope it has an internal cooldown. Otherwise, this is severely going to be broken. Because you have a 400 magnitude ability that's better than a lot of people's encounters abilities. So you have a 5% chance to proc that DOT in an AoE situation when you're hitting all the mobs and everything. So if you get several mobs hit with Mystify and your teammates are hitting that same mob, they're going to instantly proc that 400 damage. And this is going to continue to chain non-stop. So unless there is some kind of internal cooldown built on this class feature, this is beyond broken. This is going to be one of the top DPS things just for the DPS Bard. And it's not even an encounter. It's a class feature. Next, we have the Forzandoo. Whenever you play a song in combat, your damage and healing is increased by 5%. We have Advancing Parry. Reprise, Flourish, and Volti now increases your deflect chance by 25%. Advancing Blade, the final hit of your at-will attacks now grant the effect of Advancing Blade, increasing damage by 1%, and it stacks 5 times. So as long as you're spamming at-wills, you can stack this up to 5 times, and it's just 5% damage increase. Masterful Performance. Increase the effectiveness of Blaze, Steel, and Tailwind added effects by 50% when not in a quick play slot. So if you have Blaze, the added effect is the 2% buff. So 50% would just be 1 more percent. So essentially Blaze, Tailwind, and Steel respectively all change into 3% or 6% total if you're using this. And you have to manually play this. You can't have this in your quick play slot. You have to manually play it if you're using the Masterful Performance. So is it worth it? Is it worth going up 1%? I'm not sure yet. We haven't decided yet. And then finally, we have Musician's Flow. It's a 50% chance to reduce the cost of a song by 50% when the song cast is not in the quick play slot. So you're basically going to use both of these together if you were going to use these. So as long as they are not in a quick play slot and you're manually playing this, not only are you going to buff this by 50%, but you're also going to have a chance to negate 50% of the performance gauge. Let's actually do the feats last and look at the general. So the general is we're a Gith So whatever racial bonus you have will show up down here. Again, we have gift, and then we have thievery, so you can disarm traps just like rogues can. We have harmonize, which increases passive action point regeneration. And we also have critical turning. After playing a song that is not in a quick play slot, you gain 10% more crit severity for 10 seconds. Right? So this is a general just passive ability. So not only if you were using lore will increase your crit severity by 10%, you also have a passive that every time you cast a song that isn't in your quick play slot, you gain another 10% crit severity. So you can gain up to 20% crit severity, depending on what you're doing. And then finally, we have the truly inspired. Whenever you play a song in combat that is not in a quick play slot, you will receive an inspiration based on your Paragon path. So the Songblade inspiration is a damage bonus of 10%, and a minstrel's inspiration is healing bonus 10%. So yes, it's very nice to be able to automate these, but it's just 10 times better to manually play them, unfortunately. Alright, let's wrap this up. Let's go ahead and go over the feats. So the first feat tree, we have backup performer. When not in a quick play slot, rejuvenating Carol becomes reinvigorating Carol. Reinvigorating Carol heals instantly for 800 magnitude. It costs 50 performance instead of 100 and does not cancel other songs. It reverts back to normal rejuvenating Carol for 30 seconds afterwards. Restores 100 mana, which is, Divinity, Soul Weaver, Performance, to any other healers. So this is actually very nice, as long as you're not using rejuvenating in your quick slot. Now, as a DPS, I don't know how often you're going to do that. Now, the counterpart to this is voice throw. Whenever you play a song that is not in a quick play slot, and the tank is in range, your attacks grant 50% of the threat they generate to the tank. So, essentially, in an AoE situation, when you're gaining all that threat, and you use voice throw, and if the tank is in range, you're going to give the tank 50% of your aggro. Let's look at the second tree here. We have battlefield. Your single target at will attacks now grant the effect of Vivo, increasing the damage dealt by your area of effect at wills by 20%, and then it's vice versa. So if you're going to use this, you have to use an AoE and a single target. So for example here, we'll put Fletch on and this. So you have to cycle them, and you get 20% damage increase. So if you cast your at will, your AoE at will, and then you cast your single target, it's a 20% increase, and then vice versa. So now the at will, single target, at will, AoE, single target, AoE, single target. They're all at wills. But if you bounce them back and forth, they will do 20% increased damage. Now the problem with this is that this one is a little slow. The AoE at will, the animation, in my opinion, needs to be increased a little bit. It's just a little slow. So if you cast that AoE, cast the single target, it's a 20% increase. Back to the AoE, 20% increase, 20% increase. So you just have to ping pong back and forth. So that's up to you and your playstyle. Now the counterpart to this, unfortunately, is Elemental Medley, which isn't very good in my opinion. So Con, Fuko, Moto, Brio now grant the effect of Elemental Medley, increasing the damage bonus of your elemental songs on your attacks by 10 magnitude. This effect may stack up to 3 times, but cannot be reapplied by the same at will until the effect dissipates. Okay, so that means you have to use this, and you have to buff yourself by one of these. So this is elemental damage, right? So we're going to use Blaze, alright? So it's going to stay fire. Well, we could use projectile, I guess. You want to use projectile? The projectile's pretty fun, actually. Here, we'll use the projectile one. So if you had this on, which I don't have it actually spec'd into, what's going to happen is that the damage on the elemental attacks here, so it says increase the magnitude of your attack actions by 20 and converts their damage type to projectiles. So now you're actually increasing that damage by 30 because this stacks 3 times. It's 10 and it stacks 3 times, so that's 30 from here, and then the base is 20. So this actually becomes 50 damage increase. So that would look like something like this, by the way. So if you have to cast the tailwind to get the buff, so that is 2, 4, 6, 7, 2, 4, 6. So now tailwind is active. You'll see the cooldown here, the activation. So now it should have turned my at will into that tornado again. Now this would just be increased damage is all it would be. This would be now doing 50 magnitude more damage than it is on that at will. And then again, you can boost it by 20% if you're chain casting the at will single target and then hitting that AoE again. Single target, AoE, and then all that damage is just adding up and stacking up with the abilities. The next branch, we have the Ballad Cola Voce. When not in quick play slot and you play Ballad of the Hero or Ballad of the Witch, nearby party members are granted the effect of Cola Voce, granting a bonus based on their combat roll. So DPS get a 5% increase, a tank gets 5% DR, and a healer gains 5% outgoing healing. And this lasts 15 seconds. And then this effect ends upon activating Hero's Finale or Witch's Finale. So this is actually nice. This actually buffs everyone in your group. Now the counterpart to this is the nearest party member within 20 feet is granted the effect of Ado, increasing damage dealt by 10%, decreasing damage taken by 10%, and increasing outgoing healing by 10%. So there are pros and cons to both of these, and there might be situational which one you're going to use. This one you have to activate by casting either the Witch or the Hero to activate it, and it's going to buff your whole team by 5% for 15 seconds based on their roll. This one you don't have to do anything. It's just the closest teammate. But this again is only going to target one person in your group. So whoever the closest friendly ally is next to you is going to gain these buffs. So again, very situational depending on what you're doing. I would more lean toward buffing everyone, even if it's 5%, than just giving one person 10%. Moving along, we have the Redoublement. Allows for the execution of other encounters between strikes of Ad Libitum and Volti Subito. Increase the damage of encounters by 10%. Now, I don't know exactly how this is working. We tried to test this out already, and I just don't understand the mechanics of it. If you're using Ad Libitum or the AoE Volti, supposedly you can use other encounters in between the strikes of these or something, and in between that they gain 10% damage. I can't seem to track it or get it to work properly, so I'm not 100% sure what's going on with this. And then the counterpart to this is Marital Performance. When not in a quick play slot, whenever you damage an enemy with the initial activation of Blaze, Tailwind, or Still, the damage bonus added to your attacks is increased by 10 magnitude for the duration of the song effect. So again, this performance will also stack with the elemental medley, right? So you actually have the opportunity to stack even more damage versus whatever the hell's going on here. Now finally, the last one we have here is the Performer. Your at-will and encounter powers now have a chance to make one of your encounter powers at random able to be activated regardless of whether it is on cooldown or not. The improvised version is slightly weaker and does not trigger or affect the cooldown of the actual encounter power. Every time you improvise, you gain a stack of playing to the audience. When you reach 30 stacks, the daily encore switches to grandstand. Grandstand doubles the damage or healing of the triggered song. Does not affect finale damage for hero or witch. Using grandstand resets your stacks. So we have a lot going on with this last thing here. First of all, essentially, if you're using performer, you have the chance to basically spam abilities, first of all. Second of all, if you're using the encore daily, yeah, the encore daily, right? Wait, did this change or something? This isn't the correct daily. Did we bug something out? Isn't this supposed to be the just cast the song, right? Or do I have tailwind going on or something? What happened? This should be just encore, which plays the last song for free, right? When we went over the dailies, you guys will have to go back in the video and look. Did this somehow change? Because now this says that it's tailwind encore. Yeah, we must be bugged out on the screen or something, because this is actually a song, right? Yeah, tailwind mambo. Did that change it to tailwind encore? Hold on, guys. Let me figure this out real quick. What do we got going on here? Clear from it. Does that change it? What's going on here? See how these are dailies? These are dailies, guys. This shouldn't be a song up here. Let me actually try to flip maps real quick. I think we broke it. How did we break it? Oh, there we go. So there it is. Now it's back to a daily. I don't know why that was. It was like bugged out on the screen. That's interesting. So anyway, encore the daily. It activates the last song that you played without depleting your performance, right? So now if you're using this, every time you improvise, you gain a stack of playing to the audience. When you reach 30 stacks, the daily encore switches to grandstand. So when you have 30 stacks, this switches to grandstand, and then it will, if you cast that daily, grandstand doubles the damage or healing of the triggered song, and it does not affect, so it's just doubling the damage of whatever song that you're going to be having going on. So that's what I mean. Is it worth it? The second part isn't really what's worth it about this. What's worth it about performer is being able to literally spam abilities. So the counterpart to this now is actually lore master. You now have a chance to gain battle research whenever you use an at-will power. Upon reaching 5 stacks, you gain ready to exploit. This increases the damage of your next damaging song or encounter power by 50%. Using a damage dealing song or encounter power in this state ends the effect of battle research and ready to exploit. Damage is increased by an additional 10% if the daily lore is active and your damage type matches the lore's effect. So you have to use this daily with this Paragon feat here. If you have the daily lore slotted, you may activate research by pressing that button instead whenever your AP is below 100%. Research has a 2-second cast time and grants a stack of battle research. So yes, there is a lot to take in with the Bard, guys. There is a huge learning curve. Like I said, I'm not going in depth on any of these abilities. We're not making any guides. This is just the very first video showing you guys all of the DPS abilities, all of the feats now on the Songblade DPS Bard. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Keep in mind, it is preview and this isn't getting released for a while. So things are subject to change. They are going to tweak this class as it go. But, you know, at least I can show you guys a basis for it and what's all involved with it. So again, this is the first preview video for the Bard. This is the DPS Paragon Songblade. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. That's all I got for you today. Remember to smash the thumbs up button. It really helps the channel grow. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and leave them below. We'll talk it out. Let's get some feedback generated. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys real soon.